Hai, Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Anda bersama saya Amirul Aiman dalam Awani Pagi pada jam ini, di mana kita akan membincangkan tentang satu topik yang menarik, iaitu mengenai Hari Basikal Sedunia. Jadi, dalam dunia yang sedang bergelut dengan krisis iklim, tekanan bandar yang semakin padat dan keperluan mendesak untuk penyelesaian mampan, ada satu alat yang sering kita pandang remeh, iaitu basikal. Jadi hari ini kita bersama dengan individu yang bukan saja mencipta sejarah tetapi mengubah naratif global melalui dua roda. Jadi dan tahukah anda, beliau adalah pencetus kepada pengiktirafan rasmi Hari Basikal Sedunia di PBB yang kini diraihkan setiap tahun oleh lebih 190 negara. Dalam segmen ini kita akan menyelami visi dan perjuangan beliau, bagaimana basikal bukan sekadar alat pengangkutan tetapi simbol inklusiviti kesihatan dan juga keadilan sosial. Jadi untuk perkongsian lebih lanjut, kita terus bersama dengan Prof. Sibilski, seorang bekas pelumba Olimpik, kini Profesor Sosiologi dan Penasihat Tetap kepada Pertubuhan Bangsa-Bangsa Bersatu serta Bank Dunia. Prof, thank you for joining us. A very good morning to you. And Prof, let's start right away. Professor, many people might not know this, but you're the reason the world celebrates World Bicycle Day every year. Could you share with us what sparked that idea? What was your personal motivation in championing this cause at the United Nations?
Well, first of all, good morning and thank you for having me here. From a time perspective, I believe that was a destiny through my life work, my involvement in cycling, competitive cycling, then obtaining master's degree in physical education, then my PhD, then teaching at the elementary school level as a PE teacher, secondary school as a PE teacher, and then becoming an academic teacher in the United States, specializing in sociology, sport, and other aspects of sociology. So I believe at a certain point, when I started to work as a consultant for the World Bank and United Nations, this idea was planted by itself, and that's how I developed the process, and I was persistent enough and I was focused enough to deliver. It wasn't easy. It took me almost 3 years, but in the end, on April 12th, 2018, we were able to see something amazing. Every country of General Assembly voted yes, and we have this wonderful day, which is hugely and very proudly celebrated all over the world on June 3rd.
And then I'm pretty sure lobbying at the United Nations can be a long and winding road. What was the toughest objection you had to overcome, and how did you frame your argument to win the support?
Well, whenever you have something obvious, it's very difficult to lobby for or promote for. I believe that the most important thing was to be persistent, to make sure that people understand that this is a political approach and it's for the good of humanity. And I think I was able to achieve it. I presented patience, respect for everybody, and I was trying to collaborate with every country interested in this endeavor. And I think it was done by international collaboration and support.
And Prof, we often hear about electric vehicles and green buildings, but bicycles are rarely a part of the mainstream climate conversation. In your view, how can cycling be a powerful contributor to climate action and sustainability, especially in a dense urban environments?
Well, after I was able to achieve my main goal, the establishment of World Bicycle Day, I decided to go after my second priority, which was establishing another resolution at the United Nations, which was integration of bicycling into public transportation. And that was again a very successful attempt. And we have a second resolution which is focused on full inclusion, full integration of active mobility, bicycling into public transportation, which is a very, very important stepstone in terms of moving forward and including bicycle into sustainability issues, into climate struggles, health issues, and other issues related to transportation, including pollution. And let's be honest, bicycle was decarbonized at 1817, as soon as it was invented. So we are a very unique a group of people, and we should protect this vehicle as much as we can.
And beyond its environmental benefits, how does cycling impact communities, particularly in developing countries? Could you walk us through how bicycle can promote not just health, but also equity, dignity, and a better quality of life?
Well, number one, bicycle is associated with, in developing countries, is associated with negative stigma that it is a vehicle for people who are not necessarily well-educated and wealthy, which is absolutely incorrect. In developed countries, people on every possible level of society are using bicycles every day and for all kinds of occasions. So that's number one. In terms of equity, bicycle is one of the most just elements of transportation we can imagine of, and it greatly serves old people, young people, females, males, poor, rich, and it's blind, and it's very important. We should stick to it, and we should promote as much as possible.
And in the regions where public health budgets are thin, how have you seen bicycle programs lower healthcare costs, say through reduced non-communicable diseases or improve mental health?
That's a great question, and I think if the leaders of a country, especially developing countries, are great visionaries, they should look into active mobility as a solution to save money on healthcare and other issues related to insurances and so on. I think well-being of every society depends in a way on active mobility. We have to, as human beings, be active. A sedentary style of life is not helping us to stay healthy.
And let's talk about Kuala Lumpur here, or any modern city really. In what practical ways can a city like ours benefit from more inclusive and robust cycling infrastructure?
Number one, save time. You can get from point A to B much faster by bicycle here nowadays, knowing the traffic issues. And people who are in rush should be using bicycles, and people who want to stay young, healthy, and fit should have bicycle at hand all the time. And plus, this is a great lifesaver for all kinds of occasions, and this is also, which I call an instrument of human survival.
And traffic congestions, like you mentioned before, and air pollutions are twin headaches for Kuala Lumpur, KL. How would a well-connected bike lane network tangibly ease both within, say, 5 years, perhaps?
I'm actually very optimistic what is happening in Kuala Lumpur nowadays. You have a mayor who is recognizing the need for active mobility, and her presence during the celebration of World Bicycle Day a few days ago was a very clear message to everybody. I'm with you, and I believe that active mobility is part of our future. Now it's time to start applying certain things, and it's time to get together. I propose to a group of advocates to organize a roundtable so everyone can be clearly heard in terms of their need and their vision and their expectations, and start building and start working on solutions which will be good for everybody who is involved here. And I strongly believe that the government, local and federal government, should be deeply involved in this conversation because it can make a huge difference.
And rightly so, you mentioned that now the time is now to act on it. But what design principles, per se, segregated lanes or bike bus corridors or end-of-trip facilities should KL prioritize first if the budget is very tight?
Well, number one, you have to be very smart. Look for opportunities which are easy to approach, so-called low-hanging fruits. Look for something which is already there and take the best possible advantage of what you have at your disposal. Second thing, try to create your own system, try to create your own solutions. Do not look on different countries because that may lead you to challenges which you may not be able to solve at this point. And by doing so, you will develop your own ways of dealing with the implementation of active mobility into your society, based on your culture, based on your tradition, based on your standards, and obviously political arena, which is always very important.
And in KL here, we have public transportation, but the problem here is the first mile, last mile connectivity. And also you mentioned just now that the government needs to work with a lot of agencies in order for us to put this agenda forward. So how can city planners ensure that new cycling routes link seamlessly to a rail and bus hubs, rather than becoming a fragmented showcase stretches?
That's always a challenge. However, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, there is already a resolution of the United Nations which integrates bicycling into public transportation. So we have a blessing from the General Assembly, and we have an indication what the world is looking at this point. And I think that should be a great indication for your government, for your local authorities to follow. Second thing, systemic work, dialogue between everyone involved, and you have to understand that public transport and active mobility is an issue of several ministers. You have health, you have environment, you have education, you have higher education, you have interior, you have finance, you have urban design. So all those representatives should be at the table, being able to express themselves and connect in order to make a final solution. And obviously, media. And I'm very grateful to talk to you about all those issues, because we are raising awareness as we speak. And that's very important, to engage as many people as possible and raise the awareness and move forward. Also, I'm a former PE teacher. That's a great opportunity for educators to get involved. Universities, that's the future. Let's educate people who are right now the future of this country.
And Prof, I can't help but notice that you bring your helmet to the show, and helmet mandates spark debate, certain debate, and they can save lives, but sometimes discourage casual riders. From your research or from your perspective, how should cities strike the right balance between safety, regulation, and ridership growth?
Well, number one, the cyclists should start from themselves. You know, whenever you are looking for help, look at yourself. And for example, my helmet is a clear message to everyone who is using bicycle as a mode of transportation. Use it because it will protect you. And by the way, 2 years ago I had a crash, and I'm pretty sure that this helmet saved my life. And sure, there are countries which are not applying helmets as a mandatory solution for cyclists. I'm the old style, and as I said, I experienced something which was meaningful towards my take on helmets and safety, and I strongly recommend using helmets. So that's number one. Let's start from ourselves. Then let's create an infrastructure which promotes safe riding, and the best barometer to check if the infrastructure is safe is when we see women and children using those elements of the infrastructure, because as soon as mothers and kids are taking advantage of those newly built infrastructures, it means they are safe. And as you know, and everybody knows, that mother will do anything to protect his or her child.
Baik, banyak lagi yang kita akan bincangkan bersama Profesor Sibilski, seorang bekas pelumba Olimpik dan kini Profesor Sosiologi dan penasihat tetap kepada Pertubuhan Bangsa Bersatu serta Bank Dunia mengenai Hari Basikal Dunia. Jadi kita kena berhenti rehat seketika, kita kembali selepas ini.
Bila kerja sendiri, semua kena buat sendiri. Tapi bersama rakan niaga, semuanya dapat ditempuhi bersama.
Baik, bertemu kembali dalam Awani Pagi di mana saya bersama dengan Profesor Sibilski, seorang profesor sosiologi dan juga seorang bekas pelumba Olimpik dan kini menjadi penasihat tetap kepada Pertubuhan Bangsa-Bangsa Bersatu serta Bank Dunia, dan beliau juga adalah pencetus Hari Basikal Sedunia. Jadi, Prof, accessibility is often a challenge. How do we make sure that cycling isn't just for the privileged few, but truly open to women, youth, senior citizens, and people with disabilities?
Well, this is also a very interesting question, and in this issue, we should work very closely with the bicycle industry. Mm-hmm. We should make sure that bicycles are accessible by the price, and sure, we should allow people who are well-to-do to give them opportunity to get the best possible bikes, which usually are very expensive, or mm-hmm. I should say extremely expensive. And at the same time, we should start producing bicycles which are accessible for everybody. Mm-hmm. And since you mentioned people with disabilities, we should make sure that infrastructure is accessible for tricycles and wheelchairs at any given moment. Not only for bicycles, not only for pedestrians, but also for people who are using wheelchairs. In terms of kids, I think we should make sure that schools are fully adopted to connect with bicycle infrastructure. And on top of everything, we should make sure that there are special zones, safety zones for schools within the perimeter of dropping off and picking up the kids, so everyone feels safe and comfortable in terms of commuting or meeting parents after or before the schools. I call this the Vision Zero zones, which I'm a big fan, and I hear from the advocates here in KL that this is already on their plates and they are very much involved into it. So that's very important. Accessibility is the key, but again, we should include everybody. We should not leave anyone behind. Bicycle is for everybody.
And rightly so, you mentioned that the price is one of the issue as well. So a lot of people, they want to join this agenda, to make the world a better place by cycling, but the issue is the price. So how should the government work with perhaps other agencies to ensure that the price is reasonable enough to ensure that a lot of people can own a bike and to join this initiative, that which is good for the country?
I think the government can provide some subsidies, either for e-bikes or any bike, the classic bike. Also, you should start a serious conversation with the industry and ask them, are you planning on selling a few bikes for a very high price, or are you planning on selling many bikes for lower price, and make sure that you will have a clientele, you will have market, which will guarantee the flourishing of bicycle culture within this society. And I think the answer is very simple. They're gonna rethink their approach, and they will try to create a culture which will support everybody to take advantage of this wonderful invention, which is the bicycle.
Mm-hmm. And Prof, you've studied policies across the world. Are there any standout example, perhaps cities or countries that have successfully created this cycling ecosystem that are inclusive, sustainable and community driven? What can Malaysia learn from them?
Well, there are many. However, I'm very careful with pointing out for a specific city or specific society or specific country. And the reason why is because I don't want people to follow those examples, because sometimes those examples are very overwhelming. And Malaysia is just starting to rethink its approach towards active mobility. I think you should look at examples all over the world, analyze them, and apply whatever works in your own society. Because sometimes the solutions abroad are so advanced, but they were applied and developed for years, in some cases even 100 years. And I don't want you to choke on those solutions. I want you to enjoy the process and apply whatever is possible. My personal observation here is that Malaysia is ready to start building wonderful infrastructure opportunities for bicycle enthusiasts, because you have the technology, you have the construction engineering. By watching your development in terms of metro, in terms of highways, everything is here. But you have to make a decision to either add the bike lanes or to modify or to adopt with whatever you have and start building. And don't rush, go slow, but make sure that people are mature along the process. You need several parties to be involved in this process. Obviously the cyclists, obviously the receiving group is the government, and you have doctors, you have politicians, you have police, which has to be trained properly, and my favorite part, educators. If you're going to be able to educate your society towards absorption of cycling for all in a proper way, I don't see any problems, because the kids will force their parents to make sure that the infrastructure is there. They will make sure that things will happen. And one of my favorite saying, which I always enjoy to share in developing countries, is tell politicians that behind every bicycle there is a voter. The more people with bicycles you will have here in the society, the more people will vote towards favorite solutions for active mobility, especially cycling. So build your communities, get stronger, and be polite to each other, respect each other, and go towards healthier and clever solutions in terms of public transport. And again, there is a solution. We take cycling as a part of public transportation. Bicycle has a full dignity in terms of public transportation, and that's what has to be used by advocates, politicians, and whoever is involved in this process. And this is a multi-party solution. This is not only about cyclists, this is not only about politicians, this is about a very complex group of people who should work towards the best possible solution.
That's a very nice message there, Prof. But you mentioned just now that we cannot really follow a specific policy, perhaps because of the different area have a different problems and situations and all that. And also in Malaysia, we can observe that we can feel the extreme heat, especially is growing within the climate reality. What perhaps design tweaks that is needed that you have seen that can keep the riders comfortable and therefore willing to commute by bike? Because I think that's the main problem here as well, despite all the infrastructure and the price of the bicycle, but also the weather discourage people who want to cycle, perhaps going to work and all. Yeah.
I have a similar situation in Washington, D.C. We have pretty much the same weather during the summer as you have here all year. I believe that employers should allow their employees to commute by bicycles by adding to their internal infrastructure showers, and which will allow employees to get to work by bicycle, then change and start work without any hesitation or without any issues related to their well-being in terms of the consequences of riding 5 or 6 or 10 kilometers. So there are solutions, and everything is based on a goodwill. If on the receiving end there is a goodwill, I'm sure that people who are planning or willing to commute by bicycle to work will reciprocate with their great contribution towards the employer and so on. And let's be honest, if you're a smart employer, you will do a lot for your employees to make sure that they feel comfortable and that they are productive. And people who are active usually are very productive.
What would you say to young Malaysians today, especially those feeling perhaps powerless in the face of climate change, inequality, and or urban challenges that we face today? Can the bicycle really be part of the solution?
Well, my very clear message is cut your time on computers. Spend more time on using bicycles and be active, because that's the future. You will live longer, you will be healthier, and you will be definitely more creative than you are right now. And social media and computers are unfortunately gadgets which are competing very seriously with cycling for all.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, again, that's the responsibility of educators and parents. We have to be very smart about it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people care about greener cities, but they don't know where to begin, Prof. What are some simple yet meaningful ways that citizens, young or old, can help build more bike-friendly and inclusive communities?
Well, first of all, do the first step and you know, get a bicycle or go for a walk, get yourself fitter, talk to others, visit a cycling club, connect with cycling advocates. Make this first step, and then everything will come along, and you will start creating a community which will contribute to well-being of entire Malaysia. And our today's conversation, I believe that we are doing a great favor to the entire nation by talking about it and emphasizing something which is very important, active mobility by any means.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Prof, if you could paint a picture for us, what is your vision for the future? How do you see cycling reshaping not just transportation, but the very fabric of society in the next 10 or 20 or perhaps or even 50 years from now?
I think that in general, global society will start paying attention more and more towards healthier solutions, active solutions in terms of their lives. Everyone will try to live as long as possible. And physical activity provides such a guarantee. And from my perspective, I had this conversation with several advocates yesterday. I think within 5 years, we will be seeing many cyclists commuting to work here in KL, and Malaysia is going to be on the good path towards becoming bicycle-oriented society. I'm very positive, by the way, very positive. I know where you are at this point, but I think within 5 years, there will be a huge difference. And my conversation with the mayor was the proof. And also I had a very short chat with the Minister of Sport and Youth, and she was very much interested, since there is a decision made by UNESCO called Bicycles for All, where bicycle is declared as an instrument of physical education for primary and secondary schools worldwide. I think this is another great calling card for politicians to get involved and start promoting something which will bring healthier society. And again, cycling is a survival skill.
Thank you very much, Prof. Baik, itu saja yang dapat saya kongsikan dalam Awani Pagi pada jam ini. Kita ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Profesor Sibilski, seorang bekas pelumba Olimpik, kini Profesor Sosiologi dan penasihat tetap kepada Pertubuhan Bangsa Bersatu serta Bank Dunia, dan beliau juga adalah pencetus Hari Basikal Sedunia. Jadi, saya kira itu saja perkongsian yang dapat saya bawakan kepada anda dalam Awani Pagi pada jam ini. Sekian daripada saya, Amir Rahman. Salam hormat. Kita jumpa lagi.